Tired of feeling like women are an unsolvable riddle? What if I told you that mystery isn't what you think it is, and unlocking it isn't about manipulation, but a powerful, almost unfair advantage? Forget the charming lines and endless agreeable nods. While other men are scrambling, you'll be the one who stands calm, collected, and dangerously effective. In this groundbreaking video, we're not just scratching the surface, we're surgically dissecting the top 9 emotional weaknesses every man must understand about women. And no, this isn't about playing games, it's about ending them. Some of these will shock you, others will make you smirk, and a few might finally explain that breakup that left you bewildered. Buckle up, because everything you thought you knew about attraction is about to be flipped on its head. If you're done with confusion and ready to seize genuine control, hit that subscribe button. This isn't about being the nice guy, it's about becoming the right man. The one no woman ever forgets. Let's dive in. 1. Confidence that doesn't ask for permission. Here's a secret most men discover too late: what truly magnetizes a woman isn't loud bravado, it's unshakable presence. Behavioral psychology reveals a profound truth: people unconsciously mirror the emotional baseline of those they interact with. Think about that in the context of attraction. If you walk in radiating neediness, insecurity, or over-explanation, she absorbs that frequency, and what you project is precisely what she recoils from. But imagine walking in with a calm, grounded, and unshakable confidence, the kind that doesn't need to be announced. This isn't just attractive, it's disarming. Her true weakness isn't flashy confidence or performance, it's the profound self-possession that doesn't flinch in silence, doesn't crumble when she pulls away, and doesn't crave external permission to feel worthy. Most men make the fatal error of over-talking, over-promising, and over-giving, desperate to prove their worth. They smother her with validation, failing to grasp the paradox: the more they chase, the less secure she feels. She only truly feels safe when you stop seeking her approval. This is the core teaching of Stoicism: to hold the line, to act rather than react, to remain steady amidst tests, mood swings, and mind games. A woman's deepest emotional craving isn't control, it's containment. She yearns to feel your solidity, not dominance, but direction, not noise, but stillness. When you can comfortably sit in discomfort without being rattled, when you remain composed without shrinking, you send a message louder than any compliment: I'm not here to win you over, I am here to stand on my own ground and invite you to join me, not carry you. This isn't just attractive, it's addictive. And most men never reach this level because they're too busy proving instead of becoming. Confidence isn't a posture, it's internal silence. Master that, and she leans in, not because you pushed, but because you didn't need to. That's the energy that owns the room, and the memory. 2. Being understood without explaining everything. There comes a point in life, especially as we mature, when emotional exhaustion replaces emotional outbursts. Not because we cease to feel, but because we've learned the devastating cost of explaining ourselves to those who never intended to listen. For many women, particularly those who have shouldered emotional burdens throughout their lives, silence becomes a defense, not a peaceful one, but one born from profound fatigue. The fatigue of being dismissed, misread, or unfairly labeled as difficult for simply expressing their inner world. And this is where most men stumble, not out of malice, but out of sheer distraction. They're too preoccupied planning their next response, fixing the problem, or avoiding discomfort to truly recognize what is unfolding before them. But the man who can pause, who can look into her unspoken distance and not demand clarity, but simply hold presence, that man disarms her without a single word. I recall a woman in her late 60s who had navigated 2 marriages and buried more pain than she let on. She confided that the moment she fell in love again wasn't during a grand romantic gesture or a profound conversation. It was when a man noticed she wasn't herself and simply chose to sit beside her. No advice, no probing, just silence with warmth. That was the first time, she said, I felt truly seen in years. The Stoics taught that wisdom resides not in eloquent speech, but in perception, in sensing without needing to control, in observing without judgment. This is the skill modern men have tragically lost, yet it is precisely what today's women crave, the ability to be felt, not analyzed, to be understood without having to perform. If you seek to unlock one of the deepest emotional chambers in a woman's heart, it's not through grand displays or clever lines. It's through quiet, consistent attentiveness. It's your capacity to witness her pain without shrinking or needing to fix it. It's your strength to hold space, not answers. In a world rushing to speak, the man who learns to feel without reacting becomes unforgettable, not for what he says, but for how profoundly he listens. 3. Masculine silence in the right moments. There is a silence that heals, and a silence that destroys. One feels like abandonment, the cold shoulder, the calculated distance intended to punish. But the other, the kind that emanates from a man who has truly mastered his emotions, that is an entirely different force. That silence is presence, and tragically few men achieve the maturity to embody it. Most men, when confronted with emotional tension, panic. They overtalk, overjustify, overexplain, believing that noise equates to control. In reality, it only exposes emotional instability. A man who reacts to every provocation reveals an inner world still under construction, and women, whether consciously or viscerally, notice. They feel the cracks in your calm. They sense when your silence is born of fear, not strength. But a man who holds his tongue not out of pride, but principle, who chooses stillness when others rush to speak, that man operates on another level entirely. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Silence isn't about retreating, it's about standing your ground without expending energy on chaos. When a woman tests you, when emotions run hot, when a conversation veers into manipulation, your greatest weapon isn't your words, it's your restraint. The discipline to pause, to breathe, to feel the storm without becoming it. Seneca proclaimed, speech may be silver, but silence is gold when it is timely. This couldn't be more relevant for men navigating the emotional complexities of relationships. The more you speak reactively, the less power your words carry. But when your silence stems from grounded awareness, not avoidance, it commands attention. It commands respect. She may not grasp it immediately, but she will feel it. And in a world drowning in noise, that kind of presence is magnetic. So, stop equating stillness with weakness. True masculinity doesn't panic under pressure, it anchors. You don't need to win every argument, you need to win your peace. And sometimes, that begins with saying nothing at all. 4. Deep eye contact that doesn't flinch. There's something ancient about the way a man holds another's gaze. Something primal that requires no words, no elaborate posture, no forced charm. Deep, unbroken eye contact is a forgotten art. I'm not talking about the polite glance you exchange with someone at the grocery store. I'm talking about eye contact that holds its ground, that lingers a second longer than most people would dare. That subtle second is everything. It's where self-respect resides. It's where fear hides. And tragically, it's where most men flinch. I remember a retired Navy officer I met at a veteran storytelling night. He was in his late 70s, possessing that quiet, steely-eyed presence that didn't demand attention, it commanded it. While younger men filled the room with nervous chatter and laughter, he sat in silence, not withdrawn, not aloof, just profoundly present. When someone spoke to him, he didn't rush to answer. He simply looked, fully, calmly. And that moment of stillness often unnerved the speaker more than any words could. That was his strength. His gaze wasn't aggressive, it was honest. It said, I have nothing to prove. I've already seen more than you know. Stoic philosophy teaches that strength begins when we stop reacting and start observing. Most men lose their power because they cannot sit still in their own skin. When a woman looks at them, truly looks, they retreat into overthinking, self-doubt, or the compulsive need to fill the silence. They try to perform instead of simply being. But women notice. They may not articulate it, but they feel it, that flicker in your eyes, that subtle shift in your shoulders, it tells them if you are solid or merely pretending. The truth is, deep eye contact isn't about seduction, it's about self-mastery. When you can hold her gaze without needing to win her over, without needing her approval, you stop being just another man in the room. You become the one she remembers, because your stillness communicates what your words never could. I am grounded. I am enough. I am not here to chase. I am here to witness. And in a world saturated with noise, the man who can meet her eyes and remain still becomes unforgettable, not because he impressed her, but because he didn't flinch. 5. The need for mysterious depth. Here's a psychological fact that might genuinely surprise you. Studies in attraction reveal that people are more drawn to those who reveal themselves slowly. Not manipulatively, not by playing games, but by allowing mystery to build naturally through restraint and presence. In a world where everything is overshared, the man who doesn't hand out his entire identity in the first conversation becomes magnetic. And yet, most men completely misunderstand mystery. They confuse it with avoidance. They believe disappearing, giving vague answers, or being emotionally unavailable somehow makes them intriguing. But that's not mystery, that's immaturity wearing cologne. Real mystery, true masculine mystery, stems from depth. It doesn't hide behind a mask, it rests in quiet confidence. A man grounded in Stoic principles doesn't need to over-explain himself to be understood. He knows that what truly matters isn't the noise he makes, but the weight of his presence. Women aren't drawn to men who vanish and reappear, they're drawn to men who feel like chapters they want to read slowly. Men who choose their words carefully, who reveal meaning over time, who don't let the world consume them in a single sitting. The Stoics called this self-containment. It's not emotional isolation, it's the refusal to pour yourself out merely to earn someone's curiosity. In practice, this means speaking when there's substance, not just for attention. It means being fully present without handing over your entire life story as a resume of your worth. You become someone who listens more than you talk, answers only what genuinely matters, and leaves ample room for discovery. And that space you leave, that's where attraction truly grows. Not because you're hiding something, but because you finally stop trying to be understood all at once. Mystery isn't about being hard to reach, it's about being rich enough within that others want to reach you. And when you live like that, not to manipulate, but to protect your soul, every word carries more weight, every silence becomes a deliberate choice, and every interaction leaves an echo. If you've been oversharing to feel seen or trying too hard to prove your authenticity, stop. Breathe. Reclaim your stillness. And let people earn the right to go deeper. Type it in the comments now. I lead with depth, because from now on, you don't need to be mysterious, you just need to be whole. 6. Her soft spot for a man with purpose, not just passion. Epictetus famously said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That line resonates profoundly the older you get, because at some point, all the noise, the raw ambition, the fiery passion, the fleeting excitement, it begins to dissipate if it's not rooted in something far deeper. Let's clarify this once and for all. Many men mistakenly believe passion alone is enough. They think if they talk loudly, dream grandly, and chase relentlessly, that's what makes them impressive. But the truth is, passion without direction is simply chaos, fire without a hearth, intensity without aim. And while women might be momentarily drawn to that raw energy, it's not what makes them stay. What genuinely grounds her, what truly moves her, is purpose. Passion is emotional fuel, purpose is structural integrity. Passion ignites you, purpose sustains you when everything else crumbles. Most men articulate what excites them, few, however, walk daily toward what profoundly grounds them. That is the man she remembers. That is the man she trusts. The Stoic man doesn't live by hype. He doesn't require applause or external validation to show up and do the necessary work. He awakens with fundamental questions, not distractions. What is mine to control today? What can I shape with focused intention, not just brute force? That is what distinguishes him from the rest. He isn't volatile, he is aligned. She doesn't desire the man who needs her approval to keep moving. She desires the man who would move in the exact same way with or without her watching. That is what cultivates trust. That is what transforms a man into something unshakable. And here's the paradox: the less you chase approval, the more potent your presence becomes. Because when you stop burning fast for attention and begin burning slow with disciplined purpose, she feels it, in your posture, in your calm, in your unwavering clarity. So, if you've been mistaking constant movement for true meaning, if you've been chasing passion spikes thinking that will impress her, stop. Anchor your energy. Ask yourself, what am I building that would matter even in silence? That is purpose, and that is what she craves, even if she can't articulate it. Type it below: I move with purpose, and truly mean it, because you don't need to sell who you are when you live it. 7. Her hidden yearning to be led without being controlled. Let me share a story that profoundly impacted me, not because it was dramatic or loud, but because of what it revealed about authentic masculine leadership. I once observed an elderly couple at a quaint train station in Virginia. They appeared to be in their 70s. The woman was visibly distressed, bags slung over her shoulder, her voice sharp, clearly anxious about a delay. But the man, he didn't argue. He didn't dismiss her concerns. He simply looked at her, nodded gently, took the bags from her shoulder, and said nothing. He led her with silence, calm, and presence. Not once did he attempt to fix her feelings. Yet, in that small, powerful act, you could visibly witness the shift. Her posture softened, her voice quieted. She exhaled. That isn't dominance, that is direction, and she trusted it implicitly. That single moment encapsulated what most men tragically miss: true leadership isn't barking orders or attempting to out-talk emotion. It's about creating an atmosphere where a woman feels safe enough to stop performing, to stop shouldering everything herself. And in today's world, where countless women have spent decades holding it all together, that kind of presence is more than rare, it's sacred. So, when I tell you women yearn to be led, I'm not speaking of control, I'm speaking of clarity, of unwavering presence, of the man who doesn't crumble when things become messy, the man who doesn't need to win arguments, who doesn't chase comfort. He holds the room steady. He leads with calm, and in doing so, he becomes unforgettable. If this resonates, type it below: I lead through calm, not because you need to say it, but because it's time to be it. Stick around, what's next is a force even quieter than leadership and far more magnetic. 8. Her vulnerability to words that paint new worlds. Here's a fact that might truly surprise you. Studies in cognitive neuroscience demonstrate that women retain emotionally charged language longer than neutral content, not just in memory, but in their emotional response. This isn't about manipulation, it's about resonance. And if you grasp the depth of that connection, you begin to realize something most men completely overlook: your words matter more than you think. Let's be clear, this isn't about reciting clever pickup lines or feigning poetic prowess. That kind of performance wears thin rapidly. Real power in communication stems from presence. When you are fully present in the moment, grounded, and your words are not driven by a desperate need to impress but by pure clarity, women don't respond to perfection, they respond to language that reflects genuine depth. A sentence delivered with stillness, intention, and emotional insight can penetrate her defenses faster than 100 flashy compliments. Stoicism cultivates this kind of inner clarity. A Stoic man doesn't speak merely to be heard, he speaks because he is aligned. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Extend that, her mind becomes dyed with the color of your words. If you infuse presence, insight, and emotional intelligence into how you speak, you become unforgettable. You don't just fill silence, you paint internal landscapes. So ask yourself the next time you speak, are you shaping her inner world or simply passing through it? Type it below: I speak with vision, and stay tuned, what's next speaks louder than words, and it might be the most magnetic thing you'll ever master. 9. The unspoken need for a man who can walk away. Let me recount a story about Andre, a 61-year-old former Marine I encountered in a quiet community library. Andre wasn't the loudest man in the room, nor was he the most talkative. Yet, there was something undeniably distinct about his presence, steady, profoundly grounded. You could feel it even before he spoke. I recall sitting across from him as he shared the story of Linda, a woman he met years after his wife had passed. She was vibrant, fiercely independent, accustomed to handling everything herself. But when she was with Andre, something shifted. Not because he tried to lead her or impress her, in fact, he said very little. But he listened fully. When she vented, he didn't interrupt with advice. He allowed her storm to settle against the stillness of his silence. And over time, something incredible transpired. Linda softened. She stopped talking as if she were constantly fighting the world. She touched his arm more. She laughed differently. Why? Because Andre didn't flinch. His unwavering presence was her safe space. And that's the crucial insight: emotional safety isn't about fixing problems, it's about creating space where she doesn't have to protect herself. That is the kind of man a woman trusts with the most vulnerable parts of herself, not because he demanded them, but because he earned them with stillness, with presence, with inner command. The kind of command that doesn't react to drama, doesn't fold under pressure, doesn't try to out-talk the storm, it simply is. You don't unlock her softness by demanding it. You don't get there by lecturing, people-pleasing, or fixing. You get there by demonstrating, through calm, consistent presence, that no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you remain unmoved. Not emotionally distant, but emotionally untouchable. That's Stoicism in action. Marcus Aurelius once declared, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Be the space where she exhales. Be the man who never needs to utter, 'You can trust me,' because she feels it, in how you sit, how you breathe, how you respond when her chaos inevitably appears." If this resonates with you, type it in the comments below. I create safe space, because in the end, the man who earns her softness isn't the one who pushes, it's the one who holds the frame steady until she chooses to step into it on her own. Let's not sugarcoat it: if you've watched this far, you're done playing small. You're not chasing her approval anymore. You're leading with presence, not noise. What we've exposed wasn't just her patterns, it was your power slipping away through people-pleasing. No more. Rewatch this. Let it hit where it hurts. Then move like a man who doesn't flinch. If this felt like a mirror, good. That's where growth truly begins. Subscribe if you're done being forgettable. This channel is for men who evolve quietly, powerfully, permanently. Speak less, hold more power. And always remember: her chaos dies in your calm.